Oh. May old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. Oh my god. Let's talk about George Bailey. Let's talk about It's a Wonderful Life. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas to all of you. Talking about It's a Wonderful Life. Some of you have probably been waiting for this as I've been studying Frank Capra's career, and it's only logical and reasonable to assume that I would cover It's a Wonderful Life around Christmas, and it's Christmas Day, and let's talk about it a little bit. This won't be too exhaustive because I've exhausted myself with my Frank Capra studies. And by the time we got to It's a Wonderful Life, I've already said so much about the man, who I think is a genius, who I think is terribly brilliant and terribly important. I think that like America, the ethos of it, the identity of America is an invention. It was invented by the cinema of Frank Capra. I think he's probably the most important American filmmaker who ever existed. More important than Griffith. Thank fucking God for that. All right. Thank God that The Birth of a Nation is not the defining American film, and it's more so something like It's a Wonderful Life or Mr. Smith Goes to Washington or It Happened One Night. Thank God it's one of those films and not Griffith. We can all forget about Griffith. Frank Capra invented America. D.W. Griffith invented a bunch of fucking hogwash, if you ask me. Let's talk about Frank Capra, the true inventor of America, that really warms our spirits, our collective American spirits. It's a Wonderful Life, I always think is really interesting because it goes to show how access really determines what is considered a ritual or a classic. Access to the film. Now, It's a Wonderful Life was made by Liberty Films, which Capra founded with William Wyler and George Stevens. After he came back from making propaganda films during World War II and had finally severed his contract with Harry Cohn of Columbia, where he made his finest pictures, let's be honest. It's just I say it with that sort of a sardonic brush off, only because he seemed to make his best work under the most stressful circumstances, which I couldn't think of anything more stressful than having to answer to Harry Cohn, who was a kind of duplicitous sort of individual, the head of Columbia at the time. But Liberty Pictures was founded by Wyler, Stevens, and Capra, and then we made Meet John Doe for Liberty Pictures, and he also made It's a Wonderful Life. Now, Liberty Pictures was not a successful film company. Back at in those times, it wasn't really common for a group of creatives, especially directors, to really create their own company. United Artists was, the Chaplin and Griffith and Fairbanks and Pickford venture was kind of a rarity in that it succeeded. This wasn't really typically the norm, whereas today, I mean, most of our auteurs are self-published, and I think that's really punk rock and cool. But back in the day, it just didn't succeed, and It's a Wonderful Life fell into the public domain. So all these channels looking for films to play during the holidays, they're like, oh, well, we can play this one. It's not half bad. And we don't have to pay a single dime for it. No royalties, no nothing. So let's play this film for our channels because it's in the public domain. And they did. And with that kind of access being played on a like PBS, like public broadcasting stations, and or just every kind of station, right? Because it's royalty free. It became a part of an ingrained American ritual. There's a myth that the film wasn't liked when it initially released, and like it underperformed at the box office, but it was nominated for so many Oscars. Ironically, the film was beaten out by William Wyler, Frank Capra's friend and Liberty Films collaborator. His film, The Best Years of Our Lives, beat It's a Wonderful Life in every category. Also, ironically, I don't think The Best Years of Our Lives was made for Liberty Films. I think that was like the last film Wyler had to make for MGM, but I could be wrong about that. But I'm pretty sure I'm right. I feel confident enough to post it in the video. But So it's a myth that it wasn't liked by anybody. A film that isn't liked by a film that's generally disliked is not nominated for as many Oscars, at least quite as many as It's a Wonderful Life was. Well, It's a Wonderful Life is a kind of heartbreaking moment though, because when Capra made it, it is true the public did not latch onto it as much as the public latched onto a Mr. Deeds or a Mr. Smith or a You Can't Take It With You. It's like that the sentimentality that invented America, that Capra popularized, that Capra made perfectly composed, was no longer necessary in a mid to late 1940s America. But there are certain things that are eternal and timeless, and I think that's part of the American ethos, that it was able to find a second life through being broadcast on television. It's by being broadcast on television that it was um, recognized as a holiday classic, because it was almost played nonstop. You didn't have to pay any money for it, so why ever stop playing it if people actually watch it? And I always find it fascinating because, like, we think of these masterpieces as just being so deliberately, uniquely designed, right? These classics being like tried and true, when in actuality it's about having access to the art. Access to art is the true decider. The public are the true decider. If the public don't have great amount of access to your materials, then your materials might never be deemed worthy, even if they are truly significant. So It's a Wonderful Life. I think it champions like populist filmmaking in a way that most films can't. The public decided this film was a classic because it was the film that the public had access to, and it satisfied a lot of the sentimental holiday themed needs that the public are craving. They have an appetite for during December, which I think is kind of fascinating. The film itself, it is a Frank Capra masterpiece. It is, most assuredly. Um, it might be his least impressive masterpiece, mind you, but it's still a Frank Capra masterpiece. Jimmy Stewart is excellent. Donna Reed is, oh my God, so beautiful. So beautiful, man. Donna Reed is really beautiful in here. I just saw her in The Caddy the other day. Um, a Lewis and Martin comedy vehicle, and she's just wonderful, isn't she? She puts butterflies in your stomach, man. Like, she makes you nervous just looking at her. Charlie, stop. Fucking thought it was a cool prop, but Charlie doesn't never wants to go up, right? But Donna Reed is just so beautiful and so gorgeous. It makes you feel so happy and so full of want and satisfaction, romantic satisfaction, sentimental satisfaction, which makes her fit into this Capra world delightfully. Jimmy Stewart is a treasure. Uh, it's also my least favorite of the Jimmy Stewart films he did with Capra. I think You Can't Take It With You and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington are much better than It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life is great, though. It really hits on a lot of sentimental notes, and it's not afraid to be a deeply dark film, a deeply troubled film. In fact, honestly, it's quite a miserable life for 2 hours, isn't it? And then the final 10 minutes, it's so ecstatic and so elating, so positive that it drives you insane, with happiness and glee and adoration for your fellow neighbor. I think the composition is lovely. There's a lot of sneaky special effects trickery going on, some illusions going on here that are almost reminiscent of a Méliès or the stuff Capra probably started off doing with the comedy troops, just in a dramatic kind of format. And I love seeing Capra work with special effects of the time, and he seemed to adapt to them incredibly well. He was a genius. So, like, any new tool, I think he would really figure out how to use properly, except for a new philosophical tool, because he was very stubborn. Thank God, he was very stubborn in his approach to sentimentality, and the approach to the protection of the inner child and the rediscovery of sincerity and protecting it at all costs. And all these different kinds of individuals will come together to protect the sanctity, the ceremony, and the sanctity of an individual within a ceremony of rituals in benefit of the individual. And I think that that's really where Capra shines. Capra shines here in this beautiful silvery composition, this wonderful quality to his film. There is something, like, beyond just the public having access to this film, that gives it its esteem. When you're watching it, it does feel uniquely important or different in Capra's catalog. So it does have a different kind of texture to it, and it could be because it's a good 10 years after his prime, which is in the 30s, and he's kind of becoming a more modern director, right? This is like uh, approaching late stage Capra, right? Because late stage Capra would be A Hole in the Head and Pocket Full of Miracles, but this is one of the last true Frank Capra films in the sense that it's the same kind of unique iconography being utilized in a way that feels strikingly modern. When we think of it in a 40s context, it does feel strikingly modern and uses there's an immediacy to the techniques of the filmmaking as compared to the 30s. But in the 30s, I think he had a bit more vigor, a bit more inspired. And I do have to agree with certain critics who say that a reason why the audience didn't immediately latch on to It's a Wonderful Life was because things that are corny or passe or Capricorn are a bit, out of date or inadequate for the dark times, for the dark puzzlings of the times, and the the urgency of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington or Mr. Deeds or You Can't Take It With You or Meet John Doe, the urgency of those films is palpable. You can always taste it because Capra was fighting an invisible war against invisible demons. He was fighting he was fighting a war against shadows, against fascist shadows of all types and varieties, and I think he felt deeply devoted to protecting the American character, and it does feel that way in It's a Wonderful Life. It's just that the American public, I don't think, were feeling that protective of themselves. Capra was always protective of the American character, and it's very visible in It's a Wonderful Life, which is a very nice Christmas story. It's a very nice one, and there are homes all across this country, probably all across the world, who get together and watch this film and think of good times and watch Lionel Barrymore be so corrupt and lovely doing his best Edward Arnold impression, right? It's just that it is the least engaging of Frank Capra's truly great pictures, and that's truly an awe-inspiring thing to say because he had truly so many great ones, you know? Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Meet John Doe, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, It Happened One Night. Oh my god, I must be forgetting so many. You can't tell. I forget what I've said already. Lost Horizon, okay? It is a Frank Capra masterpiece, but I mean, I think Capra really loved it and thought it was his best one because he would agree with the public. The public is right. What the public needs, the public needs. It's just that Capra knew what the public needs is eternal. It's not necessarily stationary. Even if the public doesn't need it right now, it will eventually. The American character always needs to be reminded of what its narrative truly is. And us as people, man, like, we live good lives. You and I, we live okay lives. There'd be some scenario that would have ended terribly without us. And don't ever forget that, you guys. Like, an individual makes everything move, makes everything operate. You take one individual out of any sort of town, and my god, it could go to social hell, can't it? Probably. Don't ever undervalue yourselves. This is Christmas. Treat yourselves, you guys. Be like me, drink some Baileys and watch some George Bailey, you know? Had to hang out in Bedford Falls. You guys mean a hell of a lot to me. You really do, and I believe in you guys so much, and I will protect you. I fucking will, to the best of my ability. I will protect you to the end of time. Especially that sincere inner child inside of you, like Jean Arthur, a true Capra hero, would want me to do. I will protect you forever. That quality inside of you. I'm your protector. Merry Christmas to all of you. It's a Wonderful Life is wonderfully composed. I just think the most fascinating thing about it is that it proves that the public having easy access to great pictures determines their enduring quality. That access determines ritual. That access determines legend, honestly. You know, and that legend determines ethos. That tradition determines character. Like, it's very deep how far just simple access to film can go. It's kind of incredible if you really take a step back and think about it. But at the end of the day, Donna Reed smoking Jimmy Stewart is really the true everyman. I think every man sees themselves in Jimmy Stewart's everyman. Oh, Thomas Mitchell is awesome in this. I gotta take a second out every time I see Thomas Mitchell show up in a Capra film. There are a lot of Capra stock actors in this film, and they're great. They're all great. Thomas Mitchell is a scene stealer, though. Always has been, especially in like things like Lost Horizon, Mr. Smith, and Pocket Full of Miracles. Thomas Mitchell rules. Love seeing him, and I love getting to say he rules whenever given the opportunity to do so. Yeah, yeah. It's a Wonderful Life. Are you watching it today? Do you watch it every Christmas? Does someone force you to watch it every Christmas? I can't say it's an actual tradition of mine. I mean, I'm also Jewish. Which makes this sweater feel even more like a fucking masquerade, some pageantry for you guys. But I've really been feeling the Christmas spirit this year. I like Christmas. Christmas is fun as fuck. Man, I don't care about any religious connotations to it. Oh, maybe I should talk about the religious connotations of It's a Wonderful Life. But it's religious in the sense that Americans are there's a religious curiosity to all Americans, and that like believing in a guardian angel and believing in Jesus Christ don't necessarily have to be the same thing. Now, of course, Capra was a believer in Christ, but this film here, guardian angels are so embedded in the idea of America. Christmas is so ingrained in the American culture that it's not necessarily removed from its spirituality. In fact, I say the spirituality has been heightened, but I think perfected because the spirituality is universal rather than by denomination. So yeah, there are religious motifs in this film. It's all about a guardian angel coming back and giving this man a look at life, but it could easily just be a ghost. Like, you know, in London they had the ghost of Christmas future. In America we have guardian angels. It's just it's an archetype. It's just a thing that we use, and it's used very well, and it's used to define the attributes of the American character. And Capra was a genius at that, and I mean, we're living in his invention, and at the end of the day, I do want to thank Capra for his cinematic invention that we all benefit from in a large way. Maybe not very noticeable ways, but we all benefit from it. I just gotta find that Donna Reed out there, bro. Oh my god! You see, the most fantastical, unbelievable part of the film would be that any man would be upset for even one moment with Donna Reed waiting for him at home. Bullshit, Frank. As you can see, I'm feeling the Baileys and I'm feeling the good vibes. Merry Christmas to all of you, whether you celebrate it or not. I don't care. It's fun. The colors are cool. There's cookies and shit. I don't know. My tradition is eating Chinese food every Christmas. It's good stuff. I don't know. It's good. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. Thank you for watching my channel, by the way. I'm grateful for every new subscriber, for every single view, for every bit of your time I'm able to get. I don't want to abuse that time or take your time for granted. I hope that when you watch these videos, you understand like the arcs. Like right now, we're on the Cult of Cherbourg arc, and I'm trying to talk about what's great about cinema, and I finally figured out that we're here to protect it. They were the protectors of the inner child and the protectors of sincerity. And it took me a long time to get there. But Frank Capra helped me realize what my motivation should be going forward. And I'm devoted to the Frank Capra ideal. This channel is positively Capra-esque. Thank you for watching. My name is Zach. And Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Charlie Chaplin. Merry Christmas, Frank Capra. Merry Christmas, Baileys. Merry Christmas, Jean Arthur. What else do I have like? Merry Christmas, guitar. Am I doing it right? Is this how you do it? Merry Christmas, movie house. That's right, Capra. Merry Christmas, movie house. Because the movie houses are where the new fairy tales are written, where the new rituals are performed, where the ornaments are hung, where the star guides. Merry Christmas, movie houses. To be stopping a dick. Is that so hard? Is that the hardest thing you've ever done? Yeah, dude. See, you look nice. You look nice like that, dude. You want to hold my movie? Is that asking? That might be asking too much. This might be. Oh. Ah. Bro. That would have been a good. That would have been good. You see this shit? That would have been good. Looks like you're standing on my hands. That would have been good shit. We gotta get through this. Love you, Gene Arthur. I gotta learn more about you, Gene. Or whatever. Why do I? What is my life? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.